Hello everyone and welcome to Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind. I am your friend and host BYBOYM and you are watching Foundation for NEET. We have already started with the first chapter in our course, that is Life Processes, Digestion and Absorption. Today we are going to begin with the seventh topic, that is Mechanism of Photosynthesis. You already know that photosynthesis refers to the formation of glucose using light energy. This process occurs in the green parts of the plant. The green parts of the plant, like leaf, usually contain mesophyll cells which have chloroplast in them. Chloroplast is the cell organelle in which thylakoids are present. Thylakoids are usually present as stacks known as granum. Inside the thylakoid membrane, chlorophyll pigment is present. This chlorophyll pigment is responsible for the absorption of light energy. So in today's video, we are going to understand the mechanism of photosynthesis, which now has been oversimplified but is a complex and a multi-step process. The process of photosynthesis consists of two different phases. The first phase is known as the light dependent phase or the photochemical phase, whereas the second phase is known as the light independent phase or dark reaction. The light dependent phase is called so because it happens only in the presence of light, whereas the light independent phase can occur in the presence as well as absence of light. The light dependent phase is also known as the photochemical phase or light reaction or Hill's reaction. The light reaction takes place in the thylakoid membrane, whereas the dark reaction takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast. Light reaction can only occur upon illumination by light, that is, only in the presence of light reaction can occur. There are four phases of light reaction. The first phase is absorption of light energy. The second is splitting of water. The third is formation of NADPH, and the fourth is Photophosphorylation. Let's move on to the first one. The first is absorption of light energy. But who absorbs the light energy? The light energy is absorbed by the photosynthetic pigment, that is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is present in the thylakoid membrane. You need to know that there are more than one type of chlorophyll, and chlorophyll A is the main pigment that is responsible for the absorption of light energy. We are talking about light. What is light? Light is an electromagnetic wave, just like gamma rays, X-ray, ultraviolet, infrared, microwaves and radio waves. In terms of energy, the most energetic waves are gamma rays, the least energetic waves are radio waves. But in terms of wavelength, radio waves has the maximum wavelength, whereas gamma rays have the minimum wavelength. We are talking about visible light. Visible light comes in between infrared and ultraviolet region. So if we zoom into that region, we would see that visible light comprises of violet, blue, cyan, green, yellow, orange and red regions. It starts from 380 nanometers and goes up to 740 nanometers. The longest wavelength is of the red region, while the shortest wavelength is of the violet region. So now the point here is that green light is not absorbed by the photosynthetic pigment chlorophyll, so it is reflected back. Therefore, plants appear green in color, whereas light in the red region as well as in the blue region is absorbed by the photosynthetic pigment. Our next step is bond in the molecule of water is broken. That is done using the light energy that has been absorbed. So the water molecule that has been broken, it breaks into oxygen, which is evolved and escapes into the atmosphere, and 4 protons and 4 electrons if 2 molecules of water are broken. So the fate of these 4 electrons is that they will move in a downhill journey on a redox potential scale, and as they will move, energy would be utilized to produce NADPH. And the fate of 4 protons that are produced here is that these 4 protons would be accumulated inside the thylakoid, and this would create a proton gradient where the concentration of proton would be more inside the thylakoid but would be less outside. So the protons will then move in a downward gradient, and ATP synthase enzyme would use this energy to produce ATP. So our next and third phase is formation of NADPH. The journey of the released electrons we talked about in a downhill redox gradient and the accumulation of protons in the thylakoid, resulting in the formation of a proton gradient. They are used to do what? To produce NADPH and ATP. And these two things would be later on used to produce glucose. The full form of NADPH is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, and the reaction is NADP plus 2 electrons plus a proton will give you NADPH. Our fourth phase of light reaction is photophosphorylation, which means phosphorylating upon utilizing the energy of a photon, that is light energy. It is the process of formation of ATP from ADP. You already know that mitochondria have F0, F1 particles, or they are also known as ATP synthase. These molecules produce what? Adenosine triphosphate utilizing ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and inorganic phosphate, and they also need energy. And the result form is the energy currency of the cell, also known as ATP. The energy required to form ATP would come from two places. The first, the proton gradient that has been formed, and the second is the electrons that will move along the redox gradient, and the downhill movement of protons together would lead to the production of ATP. So now you know that the products of light reaction are ATP and NADPH. So our next phase is dark reaction. The dark reaction is also known as Blackman's reaction, because this reaction can occur in dark. It can occur in light, it can occur in dark. It is only dependent upon the products of light reaction, that is ATP and NADPH. It is also known as a biosynthetic phase because glucose in actual sense is produced in this phase. So the dark reaction occurs in the stroma, whereas the light reaction occurred in the thylakoid membrane. This phase is not directly dependent upon light but on the products. So there is a cycle, a number of steps, a number of reactions that fix carbon dioxide utilizing hydrogen from NADPH and energy from ATP molecules. This Calvin cycle fixes carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is converted into glucose. The Calvin cycle is an inseparable part of the dark reaction. So both C3 as well as C4 plants would show Calvin cycle. The enzyme that is involved in Calvin cycle is rubisco, ribulose, biphosphate, carboxylase, oxygenase. This is the most abundant protein in the biosphere. An important thing to note here is that the steps of photosynthesis, they do not need to occur one after another immediately. That is, the products of light reaction are to be used. So they can be used at any point of time. So the dark reaction need not occur immediately after the light reaction. And desert plants, they have specific mechanism. One such mechanism is that they take up carbon dioxide during night, but they will form an intermediate product, malic acid. Overall reaction of photosynthesis is 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 12 molecules of water are utilized along with light energy, and this reaction occurs in the chloroplast, and chlorophyll is also involved and leads to the production of 1 molecule of glucose, and 6 molecules of oxygen are released into the atmosphere, plus 6 molecules of water are also produced. I hope you understood the video. You are watching Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind.